Right. So, in the previous unit, we had begun our discussion on the types of verbs in English. We had said that verbs are categorized as full verbs or lexical verbs, and such as right and primary verbs, which are be, have, and do, and the modal auxiliary verbs such as may, shall, etc. Now, in this section, we are going to talk in detail about the differences between the full or lexical verbs and also the primary and the modal auxiliary verbs. Right. So let us start with the auxiliary verbs and the types of verbs. That is Unit 7. And so auxiliary as such, we understand that they are helping verbs. But at times, these helping verbs also behave as main verbs. Okay. So hence that is the name given as primary verbs, which are be, have, do. Right? The primary verbs in English grammar are the verbs be, have, and do, and all three of which can function as either main verbs or auxiliary verbs. Primary verbs are sometimes referred to as primary auxiliaries. I hope my screen is visible. Right. So, coming to these verbs, which we were talking about, be, have, and do, they function as both as main verbs and auxiliary verbs, and also they are called as helping verbs, depending on the context. So, primary verbs as main verbs. If you look at it, when primary verbs function as main verbs, they carry the main meaning of the sentence, expressing action or states of being. Now, be as a main verb, if you look at it, can describe a state or condition of the subject. For example, she is happy. Here is the main verb and shows the state of the subject, she. Right? Though it's being a helping verb, acts like a main verb. Now, have as a main verb. Let us look have as a main verb. Though it's an helping verb, the verb can indicate possession or relationship. For example, I have a cat. Where if you notice, have is the main verb indicating possession of the car. I have a car, right? So next, if at all you take this have as an auxiliary verb, that is an helping verb. Let us quickly look into it. Have helps to form perfect tenses indicating completed actions or states. For example, I have finished my work. Here, have helps form the present perfect tense with finished as the main verb. Right. Now, do as the main verb. The verb do can express an action or perform an activity. For example, I do my homework every day. The do is the main verb referring to the action of completing the homework. Now, coming to the primary verbs as auxiliary verbs, that is helping verbs. When primary verbs are now so far we've seen it as a main verb. Now we're going to look into it as a helping verb. So when primary verbs are used as an auxiliary verb, they help form different tenses, moods, voices, or questions in a sentence. They don't carry the main meaning themselves, but they assist the main verb in conveying more complex ideas. Be as an auxiliary verb. Now the verb be helps form continuous, progressive tenses or passive voice. For example, for the continuous tense, she is reading. The verb is helps form the present continuous tense with reading as the main verb showing the action. Now coming to the passive voice, the book was read by her. So was helps form the passive voice with read as the main verb. Now do as an auxiliary verb. The verb do helps form negative sentences, questions, or emphatic statements in the present simple and past simple tenses. For example, in terms of negative sentence, I do not like coffee. Here, do help form the negative sentence. Second, if it's a question, do you like coffee? Here, do help form the question. And emphasis, I do like coffee. Now, do if at all look at do here it emphasizes in the positive sentence. Right. Now, let us look into the auxiliary yes no question. Uh, so, is she coming to the party? I mean, this is a yes or no question. So, if you look at it, is she coming to the party? Do you like pizza? Has he seen the movie? Could you open the door? So, look at these helping verbs which act like in framing a question, which are called as yes no questions. Right. Now, the auxiliary in WH question, that is content question. What are you doing? Okay. Where did they go? Who has been eating the cookies? When will you be back? And why is she crying? So you can see what, where, when, who, why, and uh, followed by the auxiliary verbs. Right? There are, did, will, has, is, and so on. Now be again, where are you leaving? When are you leaving? Who's been playing the bill? Now with do, where do they live? Why didn't you call me? Have again, what has she done now? What have they decided? If you come to modal auxiliary verb, who would she stay with? Where should I park? So coming to the auxiliary verbs in negation. So usually they appear next to the operator, right? To make an auxiliary verb negative, add not or uh, NP apostrophe P after the auxiliary verb. And NP, not is the contracted form of not. For example, I am not going to the party. They had not been traveling along with when they have had not been traveling long when they ran out of money. Dan isn't coming. She's not feeling very well. They don't go to school on Wednesday afternoon. Now coming to the dummy auxiliary verb. So dummy auxiliary verb refers to the verb do. So when used as an auxiliary verb to form negative or interrogative sentences, essentially acting as a placeholder with no real meaning of its own, but necessary to structure the sentence grammatically. This is often called do support in linguistics. So the verb do used as an auxiliary is often called the dummy operator because it has no meaning of its own but exists simply to fill the slot of operator when an operator is needed to form negative or interrogative sentence. So now look at this. There is no auxiliary verb here. Jameson Johnson won a gold medal at the Asian Games, so you don't find any helping verb here. Sign and Sindhu train in the same academy. Nitusha trains young runners in her academy. Then how do we frame a question for this? Then there is no auxiliary verb. Right. See, yes or no question. So did Vincent Johnson win a gold medalization? So do finance in the same academy? Does PT Usha train young runners in her academy? So this is how you can for WH question. What did? So can you see the role of do as a dummy auxiliary verb over here? Verb, dummy verb. What did Vincent Johnson win in the Asian Games? Where do finance in the train? Who does PT Usha train in her academy? Now coming to the negative sentences again. Vincent Johnson did not win a gold medal at the Asian Games. Financing did not train in the same academy. As I told you, not to be placed immediately after the first operator, right? PT Usha does not train young runners in her academy. Now, as we have just now read this primary verb, we have in do. Now, this is just showing you as to how it is being used as a lexical verb or an auxiliary verb, right? B, if you look at it, the first sentence is a lexical verb. The next one is an auxiliary verb. For example, Margaret is a brilliant student. Margaret is applying to Yale. Okay, this is an auxiliary verb. Similarly, have, if you take this auxiliary verb, when it has to act like a main verb, Frank has a good job. When it comes to an auxiliary, Frank has just returned from a business trip. Now, do Sam does the crossword puzzle in the Sunday paper, that's a lexical verb. Sam doesn't go out much anymore, and this is auxiliary verb in negation. Right. Now, modal verbs as auxiliary. Modal verbs like can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, will, and would are considered auxiliary verbs. And please remember, these are only purely helping verbs. Unlike the primary verbs, where they can be main and helping, but modal verbs can only be the helping verbs. Now, because they are always used with another verb to express possibility, ability, permission, necessity, or future tense, essentially helping the main verb to convey additional meaning. They are classified as modal auxiliaries. Now, modal verbs are auxiliary verbs like can, should, and must that express conditions such as possibility, ability, necessity, and permission. Frequently used modal verbs include can, may, might, could, should, would, will, and must. Less common ones like shall and ought are still used in specific contexts. Modal verbs are followed by the main verb infinitive without to and remain consistent across subjects. In past context forms like could, might, should, and would indicate hypothetical or past scenarios. Modal verbs are used in diverse sentence structures such as questions. Could you help me? And in suggestions like you should try the lasagna. And habits. I would often walk to school. Right. No tense change is seen. Modal verbs like can, could, will, would, may, might, should, must, and ought to do not change their form to show different tenses. Past tense indication, that is to refer to the past with a modal verb. Use the modal verb followed by have and the past participle of the main verb. Example, he can swim. That's the present tense. That he could swim is the past tense. Right. Now, usually the following is a basic formula for using a modal auxiliary. Subject plus modal auxiliary plus the main verb. So, this is how it goes. For example, James may call. Okay? Use the following format to form a yes-no question with a modal auxiliary. So, modal auxiliary plus subject plus main verb. That is, should I drive? So, for a yes or no question, mostly the modal verb comes in the beginning of the sentence, right? Now remember, when a sentence contains a modal auxiliary before the verb, the helping verb is always have. Next, let us move on to block 3, the word formation. Right. So in this we have Unit 8, which talks about the words and affixes. Unit 9, which talks about word formation in English. And in Unit 10, grammatical category. So let us take up the first one, words and affixes. Right? Now, see, when we think about language and what constitutes meaning in language, it is nothing but with words, which are the smallest two units of a meaning. And we look at words as the building blocks of language. Now, sentences are made up of bringing words together, and words are said to have their own individual meaning, and we get the meaning of the sentences by combining the meanings of the constituent words. Right. So, what is a word basically? So, a word is a single, distinct, meaningful element of speech or writing used to form sentences. For example, we talk about a cat, which is a word representing a small domesticated feline animal. Right. And a lexeme is the base form of a word representing its core meaning, including all its variations. For example, run is a lexeme covering run, ran, and running. So run is the main word there where you are realizing the other forms of that. But the actual group word is run, right? The word form. A word form is a specific variation of a lexeme that indicates tense, mood, number, etc. Now, for example, running is a word form of the lexeme run, showing the present participle, right? So let us move on to the next uh, structure, that is morpheme. Right? So what is the morpheme? A morpheme is the smallest unit of meaning in a language. So morphemes are like building blocks or words for words. They can be individual words or they can be parts of words, and each morpheme has its own distinct meaning. Morphemes can be free or bound. Free morphemes can stand alone as words like cat or run. Yes, they can stand on their own, isn't it? And whereas bound morphemes must be attached to other morphemes like ing in running. Next. Now morphemes can be broadly categorized into two types, free morphemes and bound morphemes. Now each type can be further divided into subtypes like free morphemes, these can stand alone as words. Lexical free morphemes carry content or meaning, example book, run, and happy. Functional free morphemes serve grammatical functions such as and, but, the. When bound morphemes, these can not stand alone and must be attached to other morphemes. And derivational bound morphemes change the meaning of part speech of a word. I'm sure we'll be doing this in detail in the next coming slide. Like for example, in unhappy, ness in happiness is nothing but they are the bound morphemes, right? Then inflectional bound morphemes indicate grammatical changes such as tense, number, or case without changing the word's class. Example, S in books. Now, ED in walk. Now, if you have seen this bound morpheme, which is attached to this word book and walk as S and ED, they don't change the uh, any sort of, uh, the word, the meaning of the word doesn't change, nor even the class of the word, right? And next, coming to free lexical morpheme, for example, cat, free functional morpheme, all the grammatical words are the functional ones, right? Free functional morphemes is bound derivational morpheme, as example, free interview, bound inflectional morpheme, ing, as in running. Right. Okay, as I just wanted to, for your information, give you the difference between a morpheme is the smallest unit that carries the meaning. Morph is the actual form of morpheme, the real form of morpheme that makes the deal in building the structure of word or the word itself. Or we can say that it has the general term to say morpheme. Right? Allomorph is a variant of pronunciation of a morpheme. Right. Morphemes are, I think I've explained about this free and bound morphemes. As an example, they can stand on their own and they do not need to be attached to other morphemes to convey meaning. For example, book, run, then the bound morphemes, which are, they must be attached to other morphemes, like either to free morphemes or other bound morphemes. For example, in undo, the prefix un. Then the suffix ing for running example, right? Now combining free and bound morphemes. Now sometimes a word can consist of both free and bound morphemes. For example, unhappiness, where un is a bound morpheme, happy is a free morpheme, and ness is again a bound morpheme. So here happy is a free morpheme, while un and ness are bound morphemes that modify the meaning of the root word. So coming to the roots, stems, and affixes. The roots are the core meaningful units of words. They carry the basic meaning and cannot be broken down further. Then the stems are formed by adding affixes to roots. They function as the base for further word formation. Affixes are morphemes added to roots or stems. They modify the meaning or grammatical function of the word. So let us quickly look into what are affixes. Now affixes are word parts added to the beginning. Then they are called as prefix or end called as suffixes of a base word. They alter the meaning, grammatical function, or both. Understanding affixes, gives us a deeper comprehension of vocabulary. So as I told you, there are two types of affixes. In fact, there are three types, but we are going to learn about only the two, prefix and suffix. There is something called infix also, which we are not going to learn about. I mean, we just going to focus only on prefix and suffix. Right. So the prefix. The prefixes are added at the beginning of a base word. Example, preview, pre, meaning to see beforehand. So pre is a prefix here. Now again, unhappy. Un is a prefix added to happy. And if you look at the word, it changes completely. Happy is something different and unhappy is something different. The meaning of the word changes. Now coming to the suffix. Suffixes are added at the end of a base word. And for example, if you look at it, we are careful, meaning with care. Right? Then coming to stronger. Now ER is a suffix here. Stronger. That means it's more strong. Right? Now we have learned about the prefix and the suffix. Now there is another uh, point to be added. Let us learn about affixation. So what is affixation? It is nothing but the same thing. The process of adding affixes to a word root is known as affixation. So there are two types of affixes that we recognize in languages in terms of their functional differences. But these are inflectional affixes and derivational affixes. Right? So uh, that means a kind of a morpheme which is added, and there are some changes occurring in both. When you talk about derivation and inflection, what are the changes and what are the affixes? What are the affixes which are converting them into or changing the meaning or the class of the word? That is what we are going to look into. So if you talk about um, derivation, right? Derivation is the process of creating a new word from an existing one by adding an affix, like prefixes or suffixes. But this changes the word's meaning or grammatical category, creating new nouns, adjectives, or verbs. So hence the title itself suggests that derived. There is some other word which is derived from derivational affixes, right? Now moving on to the inflection. So inflectional affixes. Now inflection involves modifying a word to show its grammatical function, like tense, number, or case. It usually involves adding suffixes like ing, ed, or S. Now, but doesn't change the word's core meaning. For example, if I say book and books, I added this S to it. It's an inflectional affix over there. Now, coming to the derivation example, I think I can take up happy. Happy is a base word, and I add un to it and make it unhappy, which is a derived word using the prefix un. Right? So this is the derivational affix. When I add an un to happy, it becomes unhappy, and that becomes a derivational word with that affix of un. Whereas in inflection, if I say book and books, S is an affix, which is you call it a suffix, which is added after the word, but doesn't change the meaning of the word. That's an inflection, right? Now the same happy can be made into added an inflection affix to it, and happier, where it's a comparative adjective, okay, IER, happier, where the meaning doesn't change. So if you take a word happy, can have an derivational affix to it or an inflectional affix to it. Hence, that's the root word of the base word, happy. So the inflectional affixes change the grammatical function of the word without altering its meaning. Right? For example, if you look at walk, I add ed to it, changes verb to past tense, walked. Right? Cat. When I add an affix of s, it becomes cat, making it plural. That's it. Only the number has changed, singular to plural. Right? But whereas if I take a derivational affix, derivation affixes change the meaning of the grammatical function of a word, often creating new words. So most of the time in English language, the vocabulary increase by this kind of derivation affixes most of the time. Next, for example, if I take happy plus ness, that becomes a noun. See, from the adjective happy, it has come to by adding this suffix of ness, that becomes a noun. Now again, careless. Now care becomes care is a noun. When I add an affix of less to it, it's a suffix, right? Then it becomes careless. That's an adjective there. So derivation affixes where it changes the class of the word completely, and at times even the meaning of the word is also changed. Like the unhappy from happy. So what is basically the role of affixes in word formation? Right? Affixes expand vocabulary by creating new words from existing ones. They allow us to express complex ideas and nuances of meaning efficiently. Now, let us quickly look into the strategies and techniques of this affixed word. Like you identify the base word, determine the affix, analyze the meaning change, understand its grammatical functions here. Now, common prefixes and suffixes in English, where you have prefix as un, then you have re, rewrite, refill, regain, then you have ing, walking, singing, suffix, and ly, quickly, happily, and so on. Right. I think your textbook, has an exhaustive word list of the derivational and inflectional affixes. I want you to go through the book. Right. Now, next we move on to Unit 9, Word Formation in English. Right? So let me just give you a small intro about this. Now, now, over a period of time, every language finds itself falling short of the vocabulary needs of its users. So this is how the languages are known to adapt very well to the situation. They develop new vocabulary to meet the ever-increasing demands of its users. Now, a language that fails to evolve this way will get left behind, right? So both by the times as well as abandoned by its own speakers who would find the language insufficient for their purpose. So change is quite constant in languages. Vocabulary is one of the most changing aspects of a language, right? And language is a dynamic, not static. So it just keeps changing over a period of time. New vocabulary is added, and some of the words retain the meaning, and some of them change the meaning. And there's a lot of change happening in this language and in terms of words or vocabulary. Right. So we are going to talk about the major word formation processes which have happened in English, and also look at the growing vocabulary in English in terms of the different word formation processes. I mean, various word processes have occurred to improve the enhance the vocabulary of English language, describe and contrast different stages word formation available in English usage. Right. So if you look at it, these are some of the levels. Word formation processes are the ways in which new words are created in a language. Now, these processes can be categorized into two main types, morphological and semantic. When I talk about the morphological, they involve adding affixes or combining words, right? In terms of semantic, involve changing the meaning of a word. And in terms of borrowing, when I talk about borrowing, taking words from other languages. That is what is borrowing. And I hope you all remember about the loan words, right? Many such words are being taken into English language in the pretext of loan, as uh, as the word would be written at a later stages, but which did not happen. And that is the reason why English language is full of words from the other languages also. Morphological processes include affixation, compounding, blending, semantic processes include metaphor, metonymy, and conversion. But we are looking into a few processes of word formation, like as per your book, like derivation, right? Derivation, just now we have read it, where because of the affixation, the meaning of the word changes, and even there's a new word after that, right? For example, adding prefixes or suffixes to a base word to create a new word. Example, happy plus ness becomes happiness. Unhappy, adding a prefix of un becomes unhappy. Then there is something called compounding. What is compounding? It's a process of linking together of two words to form another word. For example, air and conditioner together form the compound air conditioner. Now, a compound can also be formed by using an existing compound and adding another word to it. For example, air conditioned. This is the compound can be combined with cabin, right? So we get another compound, air conditioned cabin, right? And this process combines two or more words to create a new word. For example, sun and flower combine to form sunflower. Now blending. What is blending? Blending involves combining parts of two words, typically the first part of one word and the last part of another word. For example, smoke and fog blend to form smog. I think you also remember a few examples when we call breakfast and lunch. So we call it as brunch, isn't it? And there is, I even remember one word as comedy, where it is romantic and comedy, right? Then melodrama, melody and dramatic, and so on. So they're kind of a blending. I mean, we get new words out of blending, right? And when you talk about this compounding, as we all know, the word which is formed by combining two different words, right? And it refers to a specific object, for example, toothbrush, where tooth and brush, the meaning of toothbrush is related to both tooth for teeth and brush and also tooth for brushing, and it refers to a specific object used for cleaning teeth. This is called a compounding, but there are two types of compounding. types of compounds, endocentric and exocentric. So what do you mean by endocentric? So an endocentric compound is a type of compound where the meaning of the whole is centered around one of its parts, usually the right-hand part. The compound is a subtype or a specific instance of the word class of the head, usually the right part. In these compounds, one part acts as the head of the compound which determines its grammatical category. Now, for example, toothbrush. The head of the compound is the brush, which is a noun, and the whole compound is a noun. So the compound toothbrush is a type of brush and fits within the noun category. Now, snowman. Here, man is the head, and the compound refers to a type of man, a figure made of snow. It's a noun. So in endocentric compound, the meaning of whole compound can be predicted based on the meaning of the head word. So this is called endocentric compound words. Now coming to the exocentric compound. An exocentric compound is a compound that doesn't have a clear head that determines the grammatical category of the whole word. Whole word. The meaning of the compound is not directly related to one part of the word and often doesn't fit the category of either company. For example, pickpocket. The word pickpocket refers to a person who steals from others' pockets, but neither pick nor pocket directly conveys this meaning. There's no clear head word here determining the meaning of the compound. The compound is exocentric because it doesn't strictly fit into a single grammatical category or directly reflect the meaning of either pick or pocket. Another example, redneck. This refers to a stereotype of rural working class people in the US, but red and neck together do not explain this meaning. Hence, in exocentric compounds, the meaning is often metaphorical or idiomatic and cannot be directly inferred from the individual component. So as I already told you about the blending, right? This is again the same thing where words formed by combining two existing words into one word. But here, the combination of the two existing words is not achieved the same way as compounding is achieved. Blending involves deleting material from one or both of the words. So it's not a compound, but a blend is created. So they are similar to compounds in many ways as the primary source of the blend in two words in the language that have been brought together and blended. Right? So we have smog, sitcom, right? Branch, modem. Modem is nothing but modulator, demodulator. Guesstimate, guess plus estimate. And then we have melodrama, tragic comedy or the tragedy and comedy. Right. Right. Let us quickly look into Unit 10, the grammatical category. Right? So let us quickly look into this. So the for sentences to be grammatically and meaningful, English grammar relies on more than the eight uh, word classes. Okay, different kinds of grammatical concepts get expressed with the help of inflectional affixes and grammatical or the functional words. Now, these grammatical categories include concepts like number, gender, person, case, degree, among all the others. Right. So let us quickly look into the number aspect of this grammatical category. The first number. So number refers to whether a noun, a pronoun, or a verb is singular or plural. So singular refers to one item or person. For example, dog and the plural dogs. Okay, the dog is barking. The dogs are barking, right? That talks about the number. So when you talk about this number, singular is one entity and plural to refer to more than one entity. Now, one can find it distinguishing personal pronouns like the number is found even in the personal pronouns like I, we, he, they, right? And also in the possessive, we find the forms like my, our, her, their. Also in the reflexive, myself, ourselves, himself, themselves. So do you notice the number here? Right? The singular and the plural. And also we find it in the domain of demonstrative in pairs such as this, these, that, those. And also you can see them in universal quantifiers or indefinite and indefinite such as each, every, anybody, okay, all, many, few, etc. Right? And we also find a distinction in English verbs in the simple present between forms like sing, sing, paint, paint. And the difference between these pairs of verbs is also that of number, right? Sings, paints are used when the subject is singular, right? Then there's a distinction of number which can be seen with auxiliaries in the present tense, such as is, are, was, were, has, have, also of number. So again, this is very important for common nouns which are countable and shows results in the plural markings that are seen are nouns such as dog, dog, child, children, radius, radii, etc. So this is all about the number as in the grammatical category. Right. Moving on to the next, which is the gender. Right? What is gender? That refers to the classification of nouns, pronouns, and adjectives, typically as masculine, feminine, or neuter. English has natural gender based on the sex of a person or animal and grammatical gender. So masculine, it refers to me, the man is tall, he is my brother. Feminine refers to female, the woman is Didi, she is my sister. Neuter refers to non-living things or animals when the sex is unknown or irrelevant. The book is on the table, right? Also, if you have noticed, it's quite common in English to sometimes ascribe gender values to common nouns like nature, country, faith. So most often these are expressed as feminine nouns when referred to using as a pronoun. Uh, for example, our country is in distress. She needs our help. Look at this. Country is being feminine, categorized as feminine. Next example, nature, when angry, punishes those who harm her. So nature is compared with her, right? This is one category of the grammatical category, and then next is person. That is the first person, second person, and third person. Now, this grammatical category of person is significant in distinguishing personal pronouns in English. Now, this category of person differentiates the different actors in a conversation. The three different persons recognized in English, like can be the first person, the speaker, the person to who is being talked about. The speaker is the first person. The person spoken to, or the person or thing being spoken about is the third person. Right. If you look at the first person, the speaker, I am going to the store. The moment you look at the word, the word or the pronoun as I, It's the first person, right? We are going to the store. That's a plural. Of the same I as a singular, we are going to the store. Now the second person. The person spoken to. You are my friend. So can be singular or plural. Now the third person, the person or thing being spoken about. She is reading a book in a singular format. They are playing football or a plural. So let me just give you a quick state about this person. That is the first person, I and we. Second person is you. Third person is he, she, it, they. Right? Then again, when you talk about the possessives and reflexives, they are mine, our, your, his, her, its, their. Then coming to the reflexive pronouns, which are distinguished by person, myself, ourself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, themselves. Right? So the category of person, it plays a minor role within the verbal system as well. Um, right. So moving on to the next category, that is the case. Right? Now here the case refers to the function a noun or a pronoun has in a sentence. So these nouns or noun phrases do not appear in sentences on their own. They are always connected to or dependent on another word like a verb or a preposition or another noun that serves as its head. So case is a system of marking this relationship of dependent nouns to their heads. So it refers to the function a noun or a pronoun has in a sentence affecting its form. For example, a nominative, the subject of a sentence. Right? I am reading, the subject of the sentence. The accusative, the direct object of the sentence. That is, she saw him. He is the object of the verb saw. So whom did she see? He is the object over there. Now, coming to the genitive, which is possessive, indicates possession. Right? This is John's book. That indicates that the book belongs to John. Right. And moving on to the next category, that is the degree. Right? Again, let me remind you about your textbook where page number 163 carries a lot of examples of the this category, the case. Right. So the next one it is the degree. Right? It's a grammatical category associated with adjectives and adverbs in English, where it is used with those adjectives and adverbs that can exist in different states and not absolute in nature. They are differentiated into three levels. What are they? The positive degree, the comparative degree, and the superlative degree. So the positive degree here represents the basic form. It's usually the root. The comparative degree is used whenever two entities are compared on the basis of the quality represented by the adjective. And the superlative form is used when an entity represents the highest possible state of the quality represented by the adjective. Right, if you look at it, the positive, the basic form, the tall, she's tall. Tall is just the basic form. When you look at the comparative, where we add er or using more, right? And more and more, that is how we use comparative. And mostly, more and more, most is mostly more is used for a word with more than three syllables, where you cannot add ed or ier or anything beyond that. Hence, there is just more is being used there. More is used to show the comparison or the comparison between any two things, right? So she is taller than her brother. ER is been added to it. So for a single mono and disyllable, you can go along with ER, addition of ER or IER and so on. But if it's more than three syllabic word, then mostly we take up more. The superlative, that is compare three or more things often formed by adding ESC or using more. Example, she is the tallest in the class. Right. I think I will stop here before going on to the next one. That is the block 4 phrases. This I will take it up tomorrow. I think we have two more classes, isn't it? I hope you can hear me. Am I audible? There's one candidate here. Hope you can hear me. So tomorrow we have another session, and the last one is on next Saturday, I think so. So by then I'm sure we'll be able to finish the other block also. So to start with, maybe tomorrow I'll start with block 4, that is phrases. And I want you all to go through because a lot of information is being given there. Also, it will be easy, and I'm sure you will get a clear picture about whenever I'm teaching you. Right? Did you all understand? Okay. So see you in the next session, that is tomorrow.